lot of people like to talk about how easy repping can be, but they don't talk about all the work it took to get to where it's easy.
Is there a particular situation where somebody came up and you really had to correct them of their opinion? They thought it was going to be easy.
Travis Tabor is an accomplished independent sales representative and a valued member of RepHunter. With nearly 2 decades of experience across retail, automotive, and industrial sectors, built a reputation for strong product expertise, strategic client engagement, and a commitment to continuous growth.
Looking up the yellow pages and white pages, all of the hang-ups and people not returning your phone calls, that's the stuff that I don't think people like to talk about anymore.
That must be rewarding to have that feeling where just really serving and doing the right thing.
Yeah, recently.
Before we jump in, here's something that might be useful if you're looking to level up your rep business. I've created a detailed guide for independent reps that explains how to find quality principles, negotiate rep-friendly agreements, structure your portfolio, and manage your pipeline like a pro. It's based on years of conversation with reps just like you. You can download it free in the show notes. This is an episode of RepIntel, Insights from Top Sales Reps. I am your host, Jeffrey Simon. Our focus: how to unleash your success as an independent sales rep. I am very excited to have as my guest on the show today, Travis Tabor. Travis is an established independent sales representative and member of RepHunter. We will be sharing Travis's experience as an independent sales rep. Welcome to the show, Travis.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being willing to come on the show. So, what makes you a great rep?
A great rep? I would say that what gives me a great rep is that I'm always a student. I'm always learning the subject, the product, the people. I never go into something thinking that I know it all or that it's the only way to know it. I'm inquisitive about it, and I think that by having that knowledge of the people and the products, that makes me a stronger rep.
Okay, how do the companies that you're working with, how do they interact based on your knowledge and experience?
I think they've come to rely on it. I've often got calls from these representative contractors that say, "Hey, Travis, I got a new product line that came across my desk. How would you sell it? What are your
Uh,
thoughts on making this happen?"
and that's from like other reps or companies who are trying to sell.
Both anymore. I've gotten a couple reps that I've brought into the fold and shown them RepHunter and turn them on to how to get new lines started and contact with these companies and get something moving. They'll reach back out to me and say, "Hey, I've come across this situation where XYZ wants to do this with a contract, but I don't, what are your thoughts?" So it's been really comforting, getting that kind of recognition, coming back around.
Okay, and how does that, can you elaborate on the recognition? How does it, is it like people talking you up and help, building your brand?
I don't know if the brand is yet built up to say that that's really grown from that, but where I get the recognition, or at least the attaboy, is the moment when someone says, "I heard about you from so and so."
Ah,
Because
okay.
I don't typically promote myself directly, so being referred and getting refers from that is really nice.
Yeah. Well, that must make you feel good when that comes along. How did you get into sales?
Oh, I started off sales, selling pops and chips, at the local ball games. I'd go down to a dollar store and buy a whole bunch that I could afford, put it in the backpack, and walk to whatever local game was going on over summer and try to sell out the best I could,
An entrepreneur.
from
So,
heart.
yeah. So, did you feel like, hey, I'm making money, this is good? Or did you have, I mean, at a young age, what were your reactions that kind of said, hey, I could do sales?
I think it was out of necessity mostly. It came from not so much in the fortunate ways. And so the family was either, make it your own or don't have it. So, wow, it was go out and find a way to get what you want.
So that led you into a career path. Could you elaborate? I'd like, one of the things people don't understand, if they think, well, I'm between jobs, why don't I just try Rep Hunter and see if I can get a job as an independent rep? But they don't have independent experience, but you know, they think, you know, so the first question we ask them is, we can help them become an independent rep, but we always say, What's your sales experience?" If they say, "Well, I just got out of college and I have no sales experience," we are generally going to help them go down a path. They can't just start in and be an independent rep with no sales experience. So, talk to us about your path, your career path through sales.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's been kind of I'd say almost spiraling out of control, but I guess destiny would be closer description because it went from selling on my own, like I said, pops and chips, and till someone said, "Hey, do you want a real job?" And they hired me on part time with Sears, doing the retail sales. Then I was recruited to the auto division. From there, I was recruited to Advance, where then I went from the retail side of things to the business side of things and did the B2B commercial sales there, which then, oddly enough, I was going to college to be an accountant and somehow got a job as a panel builder. And that then changed my whole trajectory to an industrial setting. And applying sales and industry was the the kit and caboodle that really just set it off on a whole nother path, and I'd say 5, 6 years later, here I am.
Okay. So from soccer games with chips to Sears to inside, panel builder and various things. What is a panel builder?
Yeah, that's not a term you probably hear too often. I apologize.
No,
Get
no worries.
used to it. So industrial control panels are the brains behind all of your machinery inside of manufacturing.
Oh, okay, like CNC.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Those types of machineries, they rely on your computers and such, which they have to get wired in for all your gears, your motors, and cameras, and what have you. So a panel builder is someone who constructs the instrument that networks all that together.
Okay. So if I said, I think when we were just getting to know each other, you mentioned you had about 20 years in sales. Could you kind of capsulize 20 years in sales for us?
Oh, try to shorthand 20 years. So it was, yeah, started off as a kid. So my sales experience has gone from when I was just 14, 15. Now I'm about 32 now, and I've just been selling pretty much everything under the sun, trying to find my way in life, but all I keep coming back to is sales. I seem to have a
Okay.
niche.
And how did you go from that into the independent repping where you're having, you know, not a boss, but you're having a client?
Excellent question. That is when I got into my own company. So with the panel building, I finally got to a point where I knew that the only way I could make more was to be on my own, but just panel building wasn't enough. So when built the business, I also wanted sales to be a part of that, since that was my whole life has been that. And so I started looking around trying to find companies that I could represent and get my own product line together, because that's in my head was what I was missing, was a product to sell. And finally came across RepHunter one day, oddly enough, right after I was just thinking to myself, man, there really should be a like dating site for these companies. And there it was, a matchmaking site that put companies and salespeople together. It was a godsend. And ever since then, my company is now probably about 60% from manufacturers now being represented through RepHunter.
Okay, so one of my questions is how did the but you actually gone into that, and so paved the way for questions. Are there any, what we try to do is have this podcast be of value to somebody who's trying to, improve their rep business or get into a repping business. And so, are there any kinds of either stories or secrets? We don't want to spill your secrets, but the idea of interesting things along the way that can help somebody understand how they can improve their repping.
The number one thing that have recently relearned is to know who and what you're selling. Um, because sometimes, as I recently did, you end up selling the service right back to the same company, which was
Mhm.
a fun experience. But the idea of just kind of winging it doesn't always work out with this type of industry. When you're representing someone, you want to know them wholly. You want to understand where they're coming from, where they're going, because you are representing their interest. You also want to understand and know who you're selling to. It isn't just about making a sale, it's about making the sale. A lot of what representing is about in my business to business relations. And so if you're one who just, oh, they want this product, take this and be done, sometimes might not work out in the long run. You'll want to develop the relationship so that you can have sale after sale after sale. And that's where I think the most success is going to come from.
Okay, so you've had some experience where you discovered you needed to be an expert. You needed to have some expertise. And could you share about others who've come to you for your expertise and how did that make you feel?
Oh, it's amazing feeling when your peers and others come to you for some advice. I finally in my career have gotten to a point where people I've brought on as reps or other companies have heard about me or get a hold of me for my thoughts and opinions, such as I've had a company call me, "Hey, Travis, I got this new product on my desk, but how do I sell this? How would you market this? What are your inputs?" I've had people that are now representing other companies go, "Hey, XYZ wants to do this in their contract, but I'm not sure about it. What can I do?" And to be able to walk someone through a hardship or finalize that deal is really comforting because I've essentially taught them how to fish, that whole
Yeah, yeah.
analogy.
Right.
And so they can now go out and do their thing, getting over that threshold.
That's must be rewarding to have that feeling where, you feel like you're just really serving and doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Have there been any situations where something is controversial or something that is a standard way that people think it should be done, but really the truth is you've discovered that's not really the way it should be done?
Yeah, recently, a new rep who's getting into this has kind of pointed out that when he was being exposed to this industry, he was under the impression that it was a couple hours a day making calls and you make a sale or two and you can make a living. So he was kind of upset and disappointed that, wow, there's a lot of time invested in making phone calls and emails and marketing. And he goes, it's not 1 hour a day. People lied to me. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people like to talk about how easy repping can be, but they don't talk about all the work it took to get to where it's easy. Once you have your book of business and your go-to clients and those relationships that you can basically milk up for your lifetime, then you can sit back and, yeah, make an hour phone call and there you go, your mortgage is paid. But till then, excruciating marketing, it's researching, it's looking up the yellow pages and white pages, it's all of the hang-ups and people not returning your phone calls. That's the stuff that I don't think people like to talk about anymore, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it sort of reminds me of the story where, like, I think particularly in Hollywood, somebody is an overnight success, but they're an overnight success because they worked their butts off for 25 years. They've been working really hard for 25 years to become that quote overnight success. Yeah, so that applies here as well. You can only make it look easy because you've paid your dues and put in the time and the effort to become that expert.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I've told people in the past, doctors did not get their degree yesterday. They've been going to school for years, and that's the same with any skill or trade, or practice, is that it takes time, it takes refinement and learning.
Is there a particular situation where somebody came up and you really had to correct them of their opinion? They thought it was going to be easy and that you had to school them on, you have to pay some dues here. Is there something that,
That gentleman I was just mentioning, that's kind of where that conversation led to, was the hard break of, if you want this to be a full-time career, or
oh, the 1 hour a day, the 1 hour a day
precisely.
misconception. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that gentleman there, yeah, he really believed that it was 1 hour a day, and to break that mindset was, it was hard. It was a difficult conversation, but it had to be had because it's a waste of time almost if you think something is one thing, but then it turns out to be something different. You're not gonna get out what you're putting into it if that's what you want.
Right. So an associate I had once, he would always say something like, "If it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it." And so
Precisely.
there is some benefit for bringing some contribution that is beyond just the 1 hour a day type of thing. That's excellent. I'm thinking that I'm very grateful you've taken your time to join us today to be on the show. And so I think we'll draw it to a close here. And
Well, thanks for having me.
thank
No,
you
it's
for your
been a great time.
participation. Great. Thank you for being willing to be on the show.
Of course.